So again, we're working on the container garden, trying to find an inexpensive and fast setup for putting some food on the table, saving some money, and being healthy. A 20-gallon nursery container, and this one, if you need to, reference the video on the mulches. But in this one, I've gone almost entirely with a peat moss and a coarse perlite mixture. So this one's going to be very well draining. This is an ideal tomato tub. So we brought the soil line up to the top. I've probably watered it 10 minutes, and I don't think it's still wet enough. It could play large animal vet here and reach down. Boy, yeah, this is why vets wear gloves all the way to their shoulders. Pull all the way out from the bottom. You got the mix. It's holding together fairly well. Well, not quite yet. Should be able to squeeze it and have it stay firm. So it's probably still a little on the spotty dry side. And we wind up here with some light brown discoloration, peat moss, vermiculite areas that have not been entirely soaked. So again, after all that time, when we're done planting, it's going to need another good heavy-duty soaking and then be watered each day, as long as it's as hot as it is. We're in the 90s right now. It's the early part of August. This is going to be my first tomato planter bed, tomato container, and we're going to have a little squash here. We're going to let the squash grow over the side and spill out around the base here, because not big enough to grow squash in it by itself. So I've got myself, went over down to Lowe's or Depot, scavenger hunted up a nice Beefmaster tomato. Yes, there's many other varieties probably preferable to this. That's what we're working with. Again, visit the growers that I know that produce this stuff on a wholesale basis and produce wide varieties, even at this time of year, just not where I live. Again, not lots of nice white roots. It is a very healthy plant. Want to pinch this stuff back. Don't want it container bound. You get it in here. It's going to go a little bit offset to the back. Because in the foreground, I want to use some other plant material. Again, this is survival of the fittest plant, mostly in the garden. Going to pinch off a couple of these lower leaves, push our soil back, and then pinch the soil line of the tomato root ball a little bit more. Get the tomato cage when you're buying the tomato. Well, you'll say, oh, I'll do it later on. I'll go back for another trip. Really, it was $3. It's not the most gnarly tomato cage ever made, but it's going to be certainly more than enough to handle the job right here at this point. Again, to get this thing fitted in here, one thing I did when I got the cage ready here is the wires are pointed in to make it easy to stack. I've pulled them out, and I want them nice and broad, so when I stick it in there, it's got a good support. Well, I made them a little too wide. I get it in there. It's going to be maybe as deep as it could go. Let's see. Yep, that was about as deep as it'll go. All the better than to have it spread out even more. Get our plant in here. So there we've got our heavy-duty tomato. Not the most gnarly cage, but at least it's started and it's on its way to producing. We get a lot of wind in our backyard, so it's added insurance, at least for now. I'm going to put a stake right in here. May need to be modified, but I'll feel a lot more comfortable having that stake there as it goes forward. And in the foreground, I want to get started on my squash. Really love squash. Yeah, either steamed or lightly steamed al dente, or a little bit of seasoning and some olive oil. Again, this pot can be planted straight in the ground. We don't want to do that. We want to see the roots of the plant, preferably even check them before we bought them. And we want it to grow quickly. It's not going to grow quickly right through this container. This container is probably made out of cocoa peat. It'll be here long after the plant is expired. So it's growing into the pot a little bit. I'll have to work a little harder to get it out. Going to be working really hard to get this thing out. And when all patience fails, just sorry, bad wrist there. So in the future, we'll make sure we remove the plant before we do the film shoot. You can see if it was that tough getting it out, probably not going to be of any value in the 90 days this plant's alive in the garden. Jeez. Wow. Way too much of a hassle to get a plant out of there, and way too thick to grow through. This plant actually didn't have a huge amount of white roots. It had been kind of a little bit beaten down at Lowe's or Depot when we got it. But in this potting mix here, it's going to grow out real quick. We're going to sink it in below its root ball. Give it some support and it'll quickly grow out anyways. We've got three good plants in here now. Again, they're going to grow over the sides. If these edges prove to be too sharp and pinch off the stems, we'll put some material on there to soften it up. Again, I like to put a lot of stuff in the garden. I've got these Sweet 100 cherry tomatoes. I'm going to give myself 2 of these for right now. And then I'm going to do what you should do. Share some with your neighbor. Usually they sell these things in 6-packs. You don't need a whole 6-pack unless you've got a big family. Share with a neighbor. You know, maybe they'll share, you could vegetable garden together. Maybe they'll feed the dog while you're gone ladybug harvesting. Gonna get it right inside here. It's gonna take a couple weeks to get some height going on it. And there's nothing wrong with getting this stuff in here and sharing the planter bed with some other plant material. And that's going to be our squash, crookneck squash in a tomato container. We'll see how things grow out. And you know what? We can add a little bit of color to this. There's a great color that, well, actually the squash will overwhelm the container. But we have this little gomphrena, pretty beautiful, low-growing plant. Because the squash would overwhelm the gomphrena. So we're going to leave it as it is. A little naked now, but in 2 weeks it'll be filled out and doing well.